My wife kicked me out after winning a $9 million jackpot, but she forgot about. Some people say money changes people, but I didn't truly understand what that meant until my wife won $9 million and threw me away like trash. She thought she had everything figured out. She thought she could kick me out, take everything, and walk away scot-free. But there was one thing she forgot: the prenup. And in the end, the money she thought would set her free became her downfall. I grew up in a working-class family. Nothing fancy, just hard-working people who valued loyalty, love, and honesty. So when I met Sophia, I had no idea I was stepping into a completely different world. She came from old money, a family that owned businesses, real estate, and had connections everywhere. Her father? A corporate giant who built his wealth from the ground up. Her mother? A socialite who made sure everyone knew their family name. And me? Just an average guy who fell in love with their perfect daughter. From the start, Sophia's parents hated me. I wasn't their kind of people. I didn't come from a powerful family. And worst of all, I actually worked for a living. When I proposed, they lost their minds. "You think you're good enough for her?" her father sneered. Her mother barely hid her disgust. "This marriage will only happen if you sign a prenup." At first, I was offended. I didn't want her money. I wanted her. But Sophia insisted. "It's just a formality," she said. "It won't affect our marriage." So, like a naive fool, I signed it. And just like that, they let me into their world. But they never really accepted me. For years, I tried to make it work. I ignored the backhanded comments from her family. I laughed off the snide remarks about my modest job. I swallowed my pride every time her father looked at me like I was nothing. Because I loved Sophia. Or at least, I thought I did. But deep down, I think she only married me because she wanted to rebel. Her parents had picked out acceptable men for her. Wealthy heirs, businessmen, politicians. And she chose me instead. But as the years went by, I started realizing something. I wasn't her husband. I was her rebellion. And when she no longer needed to prove a point, she got rid of me. Sophia always played the lottery. Not because she needed the money, but because she thought it was funny. "Imagine winning millions when I already have millions," she'd laugh. And then, one day, it actually happened. $9 million. At first, I was thrilled. We had always talked about traveling, starting fresh, and investing in our future together. But the moment that money hit her bank account, she changed. Winning the lottery should have been a blessing. Instead, it was the beginning of the worst betrayal of my life. When Sophia first saw the $9 million deposit hit her bank account, I expected her to be excited. And she was. But not in the way I thought. She didn't say, "We did it." She didn't say, "Our life just changed forever." Sophia sat there, smiling like she had already won. Like this was a game she had just finished playing. She thought she had it all figured out. Kick me out. Keep every cent. Walk away without a scratch. But what she didn't realize was that she had overplayed her hand. Because the very prenup she forced me to sign was about to blow up in her face. I didn't say a word that night. I just picked up my car keys, walked out the door, and drove straight to my brother's house. The next morning, I hired the best divorce attorney I could find. I handed him the prenup, expecting him to tell me there was nothing we could do. Instead, he read through it, paused, then smirked. "Oh, this is going to be fun." I blinked. "Wait, what?" He tapped the paper with his pen. "Your wife's family was so obsessed with protecting her inheritance that they made a huge mistake. This prenup only protects money she inherited or assets she already owned before the marriage. But lottery winnings? That's marital property." I felt my heart stop. "You're serious?" He nodded. "She just won $9 million. And by law, half of that belongs to you." The next time I saw Sophia, it was in a conference room, sitting across from me with her lawyer at her side. She looked annoyed, like I was wasting her time. Her lawyer started off smug. "Let's keep this simple. Sophia is offering you a one-time payment of $50,000 to walk away and sign the divorce papers." I nearly laughed out loud. 50 grand? I said, raising an eyebrow. "That's cute." Sophia smirked. "You should take it. It's more than you deserve." My lawyer leaned forward. "Actually, Sophia, that's not how this works." He slid the prenup across the table. You forgot one important clause. Your lottery winnings are considered marital property, which means my client is entitled to half of everything. Her smirk vanished. Her lawyer's face went pale. Sophia let out a shaky laugh. No, that's not possible. Her lawyer furiously flipped through the papers, scanning the legal text. I watched as his expression changed. First confusion, then realization, then pure horror. He knew. Sophia had played herself. Sophia turned to me, eyes wide with panic. You wouldn't actually do this, right? You wouldn't take my money? I raised an eyebrow. Oh, but I thought it wasn't our money. I thought I wasn't entitled to anything. Her jaw clenched. She turned to her lawyer. Fix this. But there was nothing he could do. The law was on my side. And now? Sophia had two choices. Give me half willingly, fight it in court, and risk losing even more. And she knew it. Instead of accepting reality, Sophia did what her family had always done. She fought dirty. She called my boss, trying to get me fired. She spread rumors to our friends, calling me a gold digger. She even hired private investigators to dig up dirt on me, except there was nothing to find. Meanwhile, my lawyer was 3 steps ahead. He froze her assets, ensuring she couldn't hide the money. He filed motions for full financial disclosure, forcing her to reveal every account. And when her family tried to intimidate me, I recorded every phone call and forwarded them to my legal team. Because Sophia, she wasn't just going to lose this fight. She was going to regret ever starting it. She didn't even acknowledge me at all. Instead, she just stared at the screen and whispered, "It's finally mine." That was the first red flag. But at the time, I didn't see it. Within days, everything changed. Suddenly, she was having private meetings with lawyers. She started taking secret phone calls late at night. She hid financial documents from me, refusing to let me see what she was planning. And when I asked about it, she just laughed. "Oh, don't worry. I'm just setting things up for my future." Not our future. Her future. One night, I came home from work to find Sophia sitting at the dining table, waiting for me. There was a stack of papers in front of her, and I knew, before she even said a word, exactly what they were. Divorce papers. She smiled, an eerie, victorious smile. "I've been thinking about this for a while," she said, her voice sickeningly sweet. "And I've realized, I want a fresh start." I stared at her, heart pounding. "What?" She tilted her head. "I don't love you anymore, and now I can afford to be on my own. So, I need you to move out. The condo is in my name." I felt like I had been punched in the gut. "You're kicking me out?" She rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic. It's not like you're entitled to anything. You signed a prenup." And just like that, I understood. I had never been her husband. I had been her temporary placeholder, someone to fill a space in her life until she didn't need me anymore. And now, with $9 million in her pocket, she was done with me. Or so she thought. Sophia could have walked away gracefully. She could have accepted reality, given me my fair share, and moved on with her millions. But instead, she decided to turn our divorce into a war. And by the time it was over, she was the one left broken and humiliated. The first thing Sophia did was try to destroy my reputation. She called mutual friends, crying about how I was stealing her money. She told everyone that I was a gold digger, that I had only married her for financial gain, even though I had supported myself for years and never once asked for a dime. She even called my employer, hoping to get me fired. "I think you should know that one of your employees is a horrible person." Unfortunately for her, my boss already knew what was going on. He called me into his office, smirked, and said, "Your soon-to-be ex sounds like a piece of work. Don't worry." I told her to never call here again. Strike one for Sophia. Next, her wealthy father tried to step in. He showed up at my lawyer's office, acting like a mafia boss. "Listen, son, let's make this simple. Take $100 grand and walk away." I didn't even blink. "Nah, I think I'll take my $4.5 million instead." His face turned red. "You really want to do this the hard way?" My lawyer leaned forward, smiling. "Sir, threatening my client in a law office isn't the best look. Would you like to continue?" Her father stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Strike two. A week later, Sophia tried a new strategy, manufacturing fake evidence against me. Her lawyer suddenly produced messages, supposedly from me, saying I was cheating and had been having an affair for years. The problem? They were so badly photoshopped, it was embarrassing. My lawyer literally laughed out loud in the meeting. "Are you kidding me?" he said. "This is what you're bringing to the table?" Sophia's lawyer looked humiliated. Even he knew she was desperate. Strike 3. After weeks of stalling and dirty tricks, we finally went to court. Sophia walked in, dressed like a poor, helpless victim, hoping the judge would pity her. Her lawyers argued. She bought the ticket herself, so the money should belong to her alone. He contributed nothing to her financial life. He is trying to take advantage of her success. My lawyer calmly responded, "Your Honor, per the prenuptial agreement that Sophia's own family drafted, all lottery winnings acquired during the marriage are considered marital property." He slid the prenup across the judge's bench. By the document's own wording, my client is legally entitled to half. The judge reviewed it, nodded, and looked at Sophia. "Ms. Reynolds, did you read this contract before signing it?" Sophia swallowed hard. "Yes." "Then I see no issue here. The winnings will be split 50-50. Divorce granted." And just like that, she lost $4.5 million in under 5 minutes. She completely lost it. Right there, in the middle of the courtroom. "This isn't fair," she shrieked. "He doesn't deserve a penny of my money." The judge banged his gavel. "Ms. Reynolds, if you continue this behavior, I will hold you in contempt." But she wouldn't shut up. "I'm the victim here. How could you do this to me?" Security had to escort her out. Meanwhile, I just sat there, smiling, because for the first time in years, she wasn't the one in control anymore. Sophia always thought she was untouchable, that with her wealthy family, expensive lawyers, and manipulative tricks, she could always come out on top. But the moment the judge ruled in my favor, her entire world collapsed. And for the first time, she had to face the cold, hard reality. She had lost. After her legendary tantrum in court, Sophia was dragged out by security. Her parents were mortified, avoiding eye contact with everyone as they stormed out of the courtroom. And me? I just sat there, feeling lighter than I had in years. Because I wasn't just getting half of the lottery winnings. I was finally free from her. But Sophia? She still had one last, desperate move. A few days later, my lawyer called. "You're not going to believe this." I smirked. "Let me guess. Sophia is trying to appeal?" He sighed. "Worse. She's trying to hide her assets." Apparently, in the days leading up to the trial, she had tried to move money into secret offshore accounts. Her father had even set up a trust fund under her cousin's name, hoping to funnel money out of reach. But there was one problem. The financial freeze order my lawyer had filed meant that every suspicious transaction was flagged. So when Sophia tried to transfer millions out of her accounts, the bank immediately blocked it and reported it to the court. When the judge found out, he was furious. "Ms. Reynolds, you were fully aware that these funds were to remain untouched during the proceedings. Your actions are a direct violation of court orders." Her lawyer looked like he wanted to crawl under the desk. And just like that, the judge didn't just deny her appeal. He slapped her with a $100,000 fine for contempt of court. By the time everything was settled, I walked away with $4.5 million in my bank account. I wasn't a rich man before this. I had spent my life working hard, making honest money, and trying to build a future. Now, I had a fresh start, free from Sophia's entitlement and manipulation. And her? She had to face the consequences of her own greed. Her father cut her off financially, furious at her for losing so much money in the divorce. She lost friends who didn't want to be associated with her embarrassing courtroom meltdown. And worst of all, she had to live with the fact that she had done this to herself. A few months after the divorce was finalized, I got a text from Sophia. "I miss you. Can we talk?" I stared at it for a long moment. Then I laughed. Because the woman who had thrown me out like garbage, the woman who had called me a parasite and a gold digger, was now crawling back. I didn't even respond. I just blocked her number and moved on with my life. Because I had one. Not just the money, but my freedom. And that was priceless. The day the divorce was finalized, I walked out of that courthouse a free man and $4.5 million richer. Sophia had spent our entire marriage treating me like I was beneath her. She had tried to kick me to the curb like I was some disposable nobody. But in the end, she wasn't just left with nothing. She was left with humiliation. And me? I was living better than ever. A lot of people asked me, "What did you do first with your millions? Did I buy a mansion? Did I take a luxury vacation? Did I go wild with spending?" No. The very first thing I did, I paid off my parents' mortgage. Because unlike Sophia's family, mine actually loved me. They had always supported me. They had always been there for me. And now, they never had to worry about a single bill again. Meanwhile, Sophia was falling apart. Her father cut her off financially, furious that she had lost millions in the divorce. She went from luxury shopping sprees to barely being able to afford rent. And the best part? All her friends abandoned her. Because once she lost her money, she was useless to them. And she knew it. Because one day, she tried to reach out again. A year after the divorce, I got an email from Sophia. The subject? Let's talk. I stared at it for a long moment. Then, out of pure curiosity, I opened it. Inside was a long-winded sob story about how she had been going through a rough time, how she missed what we had, how she had made mistakes and wished we could start fresh. And of course, at the very bottom of the email, a pathetic little request. Would you be open to loaning me some money to help me get back on my feet? I sat back in my chair and laughed. Laughed so hard I had tears in my eyes. Because the woman who had called me a nobody, the woman who had kicked me out of my own home, the woman who thought she had won everything, was now begging me for money. I thought about ignoring her completely. But then, I realized there was one last thing I needed to say. So I replied with just 2 words. "You're broke?" And then, I blocked her. For good. It's been 2 years since the divorce. And I can honestly say, I have never been happier. I travel whenever I want. I work because I enjoy it, not because I have to. I have people in my life who actually love me. And best of all, I never have to deal with Sophia's manipulative, selfish, gold-digger family ever again. She thought winning the lottery meant she had won at life. But in the end, I was the one who walked away with everything, including my dignity, freedom, and peace. And that was worth more than any jackpot.